Hello, YouTube. This is Piss Moan, and this is not a review of a thing.
Probably not.
This is actually a discussion,
Actually, yes, we are reviewing game monetization.
which is pretty much like all games, technically.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10.
I'll give it like a 3, because some of them are decent, but the whole brings... I would actually do the opposite. There's a few that bring it down. But the overall trend of game monetization really bothers me. And even games that have done it well have been transitioning away from good models. I point to League of Legends for that. I've always been a big proponent of League of Legends monetization model, and I'm drifting away from it.
With the introduction of the new system?
Loot boxes, yeah. So how I feel about it is loot boxes I do not find to be inherently bad. And I'll preface that with any loot box that you can buy for real money is inherently bad. Period. Bar none. End of story. I don't care if it's a free-to-play game. I don't care if it's a pay-to-play game. Anywhere where you're getting your product
a gamble
through gambling, I think is inherently bad. And retroactively, I feel that Magic the Gathering has a bad monetization system that preys on children's gambling addiction. I don't know if any of you have been into Magic the Gathering. That feeling of opening up a card pack and going through the cards was honestly better than playing the game. I loved opening card packs. It was amazing.
I didn't get into Magic the Gathering. I did get a bit into Pokemon, but honestly, my dad got more into Pokemon than I did. I mean, I loved the cards and I collected and traded, but I didn't have the money, so it wasn't like I had a stake in it. The one that's been dangerous for me present day is the Kingdom Hearts mobile game. I have put a lot of money into that I should not be putting into that. I'm better now.
Better
now. Yes, I haven't spent in
okay
a long time.
Okay. When you said better, I thought you might have still been spending just less.
I mean, I've done it once or twice in the past 3 months or so. And
I'm curious, does that have a loot box style system, or is it
yes,
okay?
You buy 10 random medals. They'll give you this list of what potential medals you might get, and usually you'll get a chance for one good medal and then a bunch of crappy medals.
So now where I say that loot boxes aren't inherently bad is I think loot boxes are an awesome way to have you unlock content, where you have the opportunity to maybe unlock microtransactions through in-game progression, but at a random system. So your progression is random for this I'd very much prefer non-game affecting content. Like if League of Legends, you could just poke the mic. If you could only get loot boxes by in-game progression, but you couldn't buy them. You could buy skins, or you could get skins through loot boxes, but you couldn't buy loot boxes to get skins. Then you're not doing that gambling thing. I mean, you are, but it's only to encourage you to play the game more. And I'm okay with gambling as an incentive to game more. And random drops are kind of loot boxes intrinsically anyways.
Honestly, to me, it depends on the game style. Because if I'm playing a 200 long hour RPG and my only chance and my option for go to unlock a loot box to get a random chance at the next item it's not nearly as fun as just staying in this area and killing all the enemies you can until you get what you want.
But it's the same concept. It's how you're implementing it.
It's the same concept, but it adds several more steps that I find unnecessary.
For me, it's an immersion thing. I mean, when you grind the monsters to get loot boxes, to get the drop that you want, that could have just been from the monsters. You're just adding immersion breaking.
Yep.
But as a concept, I'm not against loot boxes.
And honestly, multiplayer battle games is the perfect place to do it.
Exactly.
But honestly, Overwatch system would be just fine if it wasn't spend money, get loot boxes.
Exactly. I'm fine that you can buy this stuff in Overwatch. I don't think you can just buy the skins, which is actually my biggest problem with it. If you could just buy the skins, I'd be fine with it. But the fact that you have to buy loot boxes to get the skins, which I believe how Overwatch works, I'm sorry if it isn't, I don't like that. The only time you should be able to spend money for a product is if you get a product that you paid for, not a chance at a product that you possibly want.
Yeah, that was one of the MMOs I played where it was buy costumes for your character, but no, it was buy a loot box with a random chance to get the costume that you wanted, or some terrible
exactly, because then you're building into your game a system where you're encouraged and rewarded as a game designer to build bad content, fluff, to pad your statistics, to encourage additional gambling, to prey on whales. And that's really all it comes down to. Loot boxes are intrinsically designed to prey on gambling addictions and whales. And that's just, it's bad. It's unethical, honestly. That is my opinion. I don't care if you need to make more money. You get money for content, not for gambling, because that's what you're doing. You are profiting from a slot machine, not from your content. And that's unethical. I really do feel that.
It doesn't look like you can spend money in Overwatch to get skins. I mean, it's maybe the wrong spot, but it's the Blizzard store, so...
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can't buy skins. You can only buy the loot boxes. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not positive. But and even if you can, you shouldn't be able to buy loot boxes. It's encouraging gambling.
And
that's why I've never bought a loot box in League. I'm very much against their edition. Well, no, I'm not against their edition. I'm against the idea that you can buy them for real money. That actually got a random survey from League, and I complained that like the odds of getting free keys to open up loot boxes have gotten so astronomically low for a casual player like myself that I've pretty much stopped even caring about the loot box system, because I've got a number of skins that I'll just never unlock because I never get skins to get essence to unlock them.
Yeah. Well, it's the skins and the champs, and you're getting... A lot of the times, if you've been playing as long as we have, you're getting stuff you already have.
Yeah.
And you're always getting champions. The skins are so low. And
you need to get skins to get enough essence to unlock the skins. And it's, to me, it feels very clear that when it first came, you were getting loot boxes, you were getting keys, you were opening stuff. It was fun. It was fast-paced. And it seems like, oh, look, if we just lower those numbers, people buy more and they get less. And that's what's the problem with it. You,
but
sorry, typo in a video that's up on the screen.
The problem is some of the moments they give you, it's like, yeah, I got what I wanted. Like, very recently, I got the Captain Fortune skin in a loot box on League, and I was like,
Fortune? Oh, the Pirate Misfortune, yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah, I love this. But the problem is that's such a low percentage of the time. I mean,
yeah,
it's probably the first time I've actually celebrated something.
And I believe biologically, the reward you get for getting it randomly is a significantly higher high than if you had just bought it. That's one of the things. The gambling literally preys on human
addiction
biology.
Mentality. Yeah.
That's so frustrating for me. And I'm fine with all of the rest of League's monetization system. The fact that you buy for champions to go faster, I dislike. But because there's so many champions and they're pretty-ish well-balanced, you don't need to. You have enough champions, easy enough to get, that you're not limited by that, usually. Especially if you've been playing for any real length of time. Yeah, you may have to spend money to get the new champion if you really want him, to get him faster. I do feel like the essence rate has gone down, but that may just be me.
I haven't played much since the new update, so I can't really tell you.
But I'm fine with the way they do discounts, their sales. I'm fine with all those normal shopping tactics to encourage you to buy stuff, to buy the thing you want with the money you have.
And one of the arguments I've heard pro loot box or pro microtransaction would be that as a whole, video games are the cheapest form of entertainment overall. You get the most amount of time for the amount of money you spend. And that may be true, but the odds are so much higher on quality, because you pay $5 to go see a movie. If it's at most 3 hours, you're in a 3-hour bad movie. You drop $60 on a game to find out in 10 minutes it's not the game you. It's not a good game. There's such a higher level of consumer gamble on that level of quality that
It's a really good point. One of the big arguments that I see people put forward is game prices haven't gone up in all these years. I mean, like a $60 game, like, oh, maybe it was $50 for the PS1, and game prices have stayed steady while budgets have gone through the roof. Well, guess what? So has the market. The amount of games that they sell are huge, and if you can't make a game for $60 a piece that can make its money back, then your game shouldn't be made.
Yeah, indie games can sell millions and millions of copies for almost none of the budget they use for the big games. They don't. The big companies don't get it. It's all about graphics and looking pretty. And no, that's not what we need. We need
Focus groups.
We need fun freaking games. For crying out loud. Battlefront 2. They made that game better 2 generations ago.
Yeah.
Good lord, you could have re-released that game and people would have paid $60 for it.
Just remastered the original Battlefront 2 and you'd have had a great game.
But
instead, they sat there and made they made a garbage game. Then they made a monetization game, and AAA game making companies have pretty much lost me because of how they're monetizing. It's all about monetization. Every game that's coming out now from a AAA budget has pay to win, pay to get faster. There's just monetization everywhere, and when it's monetization, like you pay for a thing, I'm okay with that. I'm okay paying for DLC. It's just like they used to have expansions. I'm paying for additional content. Is the content worth it? That's a separate argument, but I'm okay with that concept.
It's how games are marketed. It's how can we market this game to sell the most copies on day one, not how can we leave a lasting impact on the medium. Like,
and I mean, like, if you want to make a games as a service game, that's fine. I mean, there are MMOs, Warframe. Look at Warframe for a game type where you can do monetization right, just like all these other AAA games have been trying to do, where you pay. Like, the game is about the grind. That's what it's about. It's really all Warframe is about.
There's no loot boxes in Warframe either.
You can buy content for the game, but it actually is kind of pay to win, but in a way that is PvE, so who cares?
Well, it's pay to go faster, like you've specified before. Because you can unlock everything in the game through grinding if you want. There's other than traditional loot randomness, there isn't like a loot box system.
And now I'll say the only way that pay to go faster is acceptable in my book is in a free to play game.
Yeah.
Because then the game is about the progression, and the fact that you pay to go faster it makes sense. And like when I see pay to go faster in a game like Battlefront, which is essentially what it is. I mean, it's pay to win because the only game mode is PvP, so you're paying to go faster and be at a higher strength level than your opponents, as opposed to pay to go faster so you're stronger for beating the game content to get more stuff, because that's all Warframe is about. There's a big difference there. You're not paying to win, you're paying to be able to grind faster, because that's what the end game is for Warframe, as opposed to Battlefront 2, where you're paying to go faster, which means you're just better at the game and make everyone else's game less fun unless they pay more money too. That's so awful. Yeah.
Or what Yahtzee calls it, the asshole recruitment system.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is Call of Duty for me. I mean, they have a patent right now for a monetization system that match makes in a way to encourage microtransactions, where they see what type of player you are. You use mostly sniper rifles. Okay, so we'll match you against a player who has the DLC sniper rifle or the better sniper rifle that you can buy, a player that's better than you on a map that's specifically well suited for them to use that gun to kill you more. And then, even worse, if you actually do buy the gun, they go, okay, we need to reward him, so they'll stick you in matches against players worse than you with a specific map that would be conducive to using that weapon. Like, that is so evil, and why it's so bad to have these type of monetizations in your game, because it encourages that type of behavior. I mean, when the money is there, there's so much incentive to do these kinds of unethical practices. That's why I do feel that these kind of systems are inherently unethical.
One of the problems for me is gamers are smart. Gamers know this is what's happening, so it's not gamers they're preying on. It's people new to the system who don't understand what's going on, who are looking at maybe getting into video games for fun, but they don't understand the pitfalls of don't spend $5,000 to.
Yeah, they're preying on whales and idiots and people who are easily susceptible to gambling. I could see myself falling into one of these, like the CS:GO and the CS:GO Lotto thing, and skins that are worth huge amounts of money. Oh God, I don't dare touch something like that. I'm so inherently prone to gambling or addictive personalities.
I mean, I luck out that first-person shooters aren't really my thing, but if they were, man, I could see that being a problem for me.
I had to drop Call of Duty for that reason. The last one I played was, Infinite Warfare? And I'd play against enemies that had these crazy guns that were so much better than mine. And I could go and look. And, all I'd have to do is spend some money to get it. I would have to spend money to get loot boxes, to get enough stuff to be able to unlock it. But, like, shit, this is a really deep rabbit hole, and I could spend tons of money on this game to get strong enough, and I'm like, I have to be done with Call of Duty. Infinite Warfare scared me off of Call of Duty as a whole. And it sucks, because I think the new World at War, or not
World War II.
World War II doesn't have that horrible monetization system in it yet.
But yet being the key word.
Well, Infinite Warfare didn't start with it. They added it to the game in future updates, and like, well, I can't trust AAA games at all anymore. Like, if it's not Witcher or like Dark Souls or
Nintendo still does stuff fine though too. I think.
True, well, Nintendo's good
for the most part.
I haven't seen Nintendo do anything unethical yet, other than how they treat YouTube as a whole. Please don't monetize us.
And indie gamers.
Yeah, and consumers in general.
They're
a horrible company that makes good games and don't do bad things with their games. Every other aspect of how they treat people is horrible.
They're stuck in the 20th century.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other good examples of things that are not okay. I hate pay to win. I'm okay with it in games that are free to play, where it's like pay to go faster. Like, I think back to I don't think you ever played it. It's I want to say Castle Crashers. It's not that. Clash of Clans. That's not the right one.
I know which one you're.
The card Clash of Clans game.
Hearthstone?
No, it's like Clash of Clans. You've got cards, and you have cards. No, you don't have cards. You have oh God, how do I describe it? You've got 3 towers, and you play monsters, and they go across.
I played the Star Wars version of that one.
Yeah.
And I had to stop because I got so mad at the game. So mad.
And the thing is, that's what's insidious about this, is you can pay to make that sadness go away. Just pay to become stronger. And that was why I had to stop playing that. Clash Royale. Because, God, but I'm okay with this. I'm so torn on those. They're free to play, but they're built in such a way to really encourage you to spend money, because you will hit that wall where you're grinding against people that have stronger cards than you, and you can't progress until you level up enough to be able to match them in power level, even if you're better.
Yep. Yeah.
There's going to be a wall you hit. Like, you can get really high through skill alone, but there will be games where you purely lose because they're of a similar skill than you.
This guy spent $5 more and he has the one unit that can take out everything he got.
And I had to stop Clash Royale because I just get pissed, just get furious at enemies that, like, you're not better than me. Your cards are just better. I can't counter your cards because they're 3 levels higher than me. And the counter doesn't work because it doesn't do enough damage because it's so much lower level. And that's just... it's predatory game design. But it's a free-to-play game, so I don't know. I'm torn on it. That's an edge case. If it's not free to play, though, looking at you, Star Wars Battlefront 2, where you literally have the same exact monetization system for a $60 title, you're full of shit. Your game is full of shit, and you do not. You deserve all the backlash you got for making a $60 pay-to-win game. That's stuff that people get mad at for free-to-play games. You have some serious cojones to do that.
I'm pretty sure. Well, their stock has fallen. Their sales are.
They have not learned their lesson. I think all that they took away from that is that.
Well, how many years in a row did they win worst company ever?
I didn't even know they were that bad, but
I believe 2 years running, and they changed nothing. And
I don't think this will change anything either. It just showed them, okay, we can't go that far yet. That's the line where the players draw the line right now.
I think, fortunately, people are getting smart enough at some point that EA will just stop earning money.
The problem is they make so much money off those microtransactions right now. The whales make up such a huge percentage. It's the fifth, or what is it, 10% 80 rule, where 10% of their player base pays for 80% of their
20.
profit. 80-20. I don't know if that's actually the statistics, but
I'm pretty sure that's an economic rule.
Microtransactions now account for over 50% of their revenue, which tells you something.
And they'll cancel games that aren't designed for...
Yeah, they're not even going to make single-player games anymore. They straight up announced that. Their players do not want single-player story-driven games anymore. Which is so sad.
Oh, I've dropped 200 hours in Berserk.
You have to go to the indie market, or at least non-AAA. It's not AAA, though.
It is in Japan. It is top 3 series in Japan.
That doesn't make it AAA. What's its budget?
Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and then Tales of for RPG franchises in Japan.
Wow. Square is not bad, are they? Who makes Square's games?
Square Enix makes their own games.
Square Enix hasn't gone slimeball. They're one of the few AAA games, I think, companies that haven't.
And they bought out other companies like Eidos. And honestly, Square Enix's mobile games are that bad.
True. But free to play.
Hell, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. God, the mobile market is a freaking cesspool of predatory behaviors. I keep uninstalling mobile games. I don't have any that I play right now. The only mobile game that I support, and it's still not great, is Steppy Pants. Thank you, Jim Sterling, for recommending Steppy Pants. I put way too many hours into this stupid one-button step across the sidewalk and don't step on the crack. That game had so much content for free.
And we used to play My Singing Monsters.
Until it ran out of content.
Yeah, we ran out of content. And I believe they released their first new monster in several months last week. So if you want to go in and raise one more monster...
I uninstalled it. I really enjoyed those games for that while, though. It was a year. It was over a year of content we got out of those. I think I spent $5 per game.
Yeah, definitely not more than $10.
That was great value. There are gems in the mobile market, but they're so few and far between.
And I mean, I'm stuck in Kingdom Hearts. I'm not going to get my way out of it. But the market is so flooded with the currency these days that I have 3 or 4 weeks worth of free materials I can get right now. I mean, that's the exception, not the rule. But they changed it up big time, so now it's a lot easier to get in-game currency without spending money.
Okay, that's another thing. Warframe allows you to earn the in-game currency.
Yeah, you can trade it on the marketplace, which is great.
It's not just you spend real-life money for in-game currency to buy what you want. It's an open and free market where all that real-world dollars in-game currency can be earned in-game through selling your stuff for that currency, or you can buy it with real money. So it's kind of a free exchange. You
get rare parts, and they have a value in the real money currency you use.
Once again, you pay to go faster. It's not ever... And if you really want to I really want this thing, you can just buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple. Except the Prime stuff. You have to do the Prime access to get that. Which I'm okay with. I have zero problems with Warframe's monetization system. They've not done one thing that I can object to. They're free to play. You can buy what you want, or you can grind for you want. There's no buying a loot box. And please, Warframe, don't do it. Loot boxes are so bad. Please don't do it.
People, then gamers are getting smarter, and again, that's my problem. Is gamers are getting smarter and understand the pitfalls. It's new people to the market that are going to suffer.
Especially because so many of them, like the vast majority of gamers right now, are phone gamers, and they're transitioning into the video games world, and they're used to these horrible predatory games because the mobile market is so bad, and that's what you're preying on.
Because you look, God, back in the N64 days, can you imagine them releasing a game with a game-breaking glitch? Company would have gone bankrupt.
Looking at you, E.T. Game was garbage, and it stayed garbage.
Ruined the Western market for video games.
Yeah, and the idea of microtransactions. When I bought, I don't like microtransactions in a full-price game. I think if you have a full-price game, the only thing you're allowed to charge for is additional content. And skins are not additional content for a full-price game. Maybe skins, if you're adding new ones, it's a borderline case. It is as close to bad monetization as you can get and still be palatable in my book.
I've spent money on costumes for Berseria.
Have you?
Yes.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I'll show you later. But that's stuff that's not required. It's like anything that I'm against spending money for required progression.
Yeah, Dead Space did that. Once EA got a hold of it, they started adding in, like Dead Space 3, you could pay to go faster in a single-player story-driven game. Like, if your game is so poorly built that you have to pay money for the gear, your game is bad. It is just bad, and you built it wrong. It's so frustrating. I remember when you'd buy a game, and you'd have the game. That was it. Maybe if it's a computer game, it'd come out with an expansion. And that was it.
Age of Empires 2.
StarCraft Brood War. You got what you paid for.
Good Lord, Conquer's expansion. I put so many hours in that game.
But now you buy a game and, here's the DLC pack, or here's a bunch of skins.
And the developers will bitch and bitch and bitch. Work smarter, not harder. We can't earn enough money back. Then make your games cheaper.
Yeah.
Make your games smarter.
If your game can't pay for itself, your game's bad.
You can still sell millions of copies on games with 8-bit graphics.
Mm-hmm. There's these micro games that make so much money. I'm looking at the shining example, Minecraft, of course. Undertale is my next one.
Oh man.
Setsuna, Hellblade.
I am Setsuna.
No, Hellblade.
Hellblade.
Where it's an indie game with AAA
the
budget.
Yeah, that one.
It's got high quality graphics. It tells an interesting story, and it's making money. You don't need to top the profit charts.
No, you don't. You don't need to top the spending charts to top the profit charts.
That's the thing. I don't believe any of these AAA games because they keep making more and more money. Their profits keep going higher and higher. And
that's why, for me, it's why video games are another form of art. It's because it's a work of love. That'll tell you the effort you put into it is what people will get out of it.
I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't make money. Absolutely, if you make a good product, I want you to make as much money as you can. You deserve every dollar you make. But for the product, not for your gambling bullshit.
And as consumers, we will help you along the way. This game is amazing. You buy it. You buy it. Play this game.
Heck, hey, we're trying to make a game. We need a budget. We need a proof of concept. Here's our Kickstarter. We will throw money at you if you've got a good game. And we've both been Kickstarter participants, and we're a huge proponent of Kickstarter. I mean, even when the games fail,
Ukulele wasn't so great.
But still,
I still don't regret spending money on it because it was something I wanted. And I'm so hyped for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I'm so hyped for that.
Mighty Number 9, it turned out bad. It looks like they didn't handle it right. But guess what? The people are willing to pay for what they want.
I don't know. This is kind of dangerous too because I mean, Battlefront 2 looks really nice.
It looks beautiful, but look at the monetization.
The
You
problem
don't
is
need to milk the people. I mean, Kickstarter is a great way to monetize your game in a way that is healthy and
but it's also an abusable market too.
yes, you can be a jerk and well, I think they crack down on abusive systems. I mean, if a
Some
game
do.
fails, a game fails, but
Well, I think
it's not too often you get straight up
the problem is there's a lot of abandonware on Steam.
abandonware on Steam. You're thinking like not Terraria, but the second come on Starbound.
Well,
I just felt like
stuff
a
like that.
letdown.
There's a lot of games on Steam that were stopped being worked on after a certain point.
But I don't have a problem with that. When you ask for money to make a game and you don't succeed, there's a whole different level of accountability there than I am trying to milk my customers for every penny I can to prey on the whales, to prey on the game. It sucks, but it's not bad. You're just a bad manager or a bad game maker, and that's not a horrible thing. Like, I'm sorry, but, you know.
Well, what's the difference between abandonware at the indie level and abandonware at the AAA level?
Oh, it's not that it's abandonware at the AAA level. It's predatory practices. I don't think it's very often that like they make a game like Starbound and come to the realization like, look, we bit off more than we can chew, and we screwed up, and this game just isn't as good as we were hoping for, and we're going to abandon it and move on to new things. A better example would be something like what is it? No Man's Sky, where they overpromised and lied. That's different. That's the stuff where that's predatory practice within the Kickstarter realm.
Okay.
I think they straight up predatory. They lied about their game from start to finish and released a game that was not what they promised. That was unethical.
And it was overambitious too. I mean,
they overpromised and
well, that's what
never
you get
pulled
for
back.
letting your marketing people run their mouths on air. Yeah, we'll put that in. And the programmer said, I can't do that. Because you can't go back on a promise you make live on air.
I don't know. You could just say like, "Look, we tried to deliver, and we're not going to be able to."
Okay, we'll put it this way:
You'll get backlash.
People won't go back on a promise.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'll just deliver a bad product.
Yes. Rather than apologize and tell you what to expect before something comes out, they'll just release it.
But that's very different than we made a game and it just isn't that good. We tried. We're sorry. It's not that we overpromised. We just made a bad game. Like,
and
it happens.
Even in that case, there's always going to be someone out there who likes it.
I mean, like, that's Dark Souls 2 to us.
Yeah.
And how is Dark Souls 2 different from any other abandonware crap? It's just a bigger budget.
Well, losing the main creator was a big part of that.
But I'm saying the end result is the same.
Yeah, I
They
suppose.
delivered on a bad game, even though they had the Dark Souls franchise name.
And I'm sure we're going to get chewed to hell for this because people who do love Dark Souls 2 refuse to see anything wrong with the game at all.
Well, they're wrong, so I don't care.
Good.
Go ahead and choose. What should we title this video?
Game monetization.
That's not unethical enough. We need to do like a real clickbaity title.
Isn't EA just great?
DA just great.
Million hits.
Oh, I hate you, EA. I'm worried you're going to put a black stain on the game market. End up with regulation coming in.
EA and Activision.
Yeah.
God, they're going to bring the attention
of federal government.
Of the government in who are going to regulate the market, make it impossible.
Hurt a bunch of small companies.
Make it impossible for indies to come out with anything. God.
I hate you, EA. And you're so bad. You buy up these franchises, like you buy up Dead Space. Change what it is at a fundamental level to match your model, and then complain about how it doesn't make enough money. And then it.
They'll buy companies and close them down.
They buy them, run them by their standards, make them horrible companies, then shut them down. So they buy them, ruin them, and then complain and get rid of them.
Pandemic they trashed. Ravensoft, they essentially trashed.
I'm trying to remember what Visceral, I believe that was
Visceral
what they
was one of
trashed.
them.
Maxis or
Maxis.
the people who made SimCity.
Yep, Maxis.
They
think that's right.
They destroyed them, I believe. EA is a horrible company. So is Ubisoft. I hate Ubisoft. Can't believe what they did to Kojima.
No, that's Konami.
Did I say
Not, you said
Ubisoft?
Ubisoft.
Sorry, Ubisoft. You're not as bad. And I say not as bad. You're right up there with them.
Konami's.
Don't worry, you're trying your hardest. You'll get there someday.
Konami's dystopian levels
Yeah.
are terrible.
Konami's comical, honestly. Like, hey, at least they don't release games anymore for it. That's the one shining. You know what? Konami's probably not that bad compared to EA, and because they're not doing anything.
No, the only reason they're not as bad is because they aren't in America polluting everything with the badness. I imagine in Japan they're a terrible presence.
No, I mean pachinko machines. Like, if there was a bunch of Konami casino like slot machines, that wouldn't bother me. They're just making something bad, but they're not actively making bad video games anymore. They're just making better slot machines.
I mean,
I'd rather go to the if I'm going to the pachinko place, I'd rather go to the Metal Gear Solid pachinko machine than the Monopoly one.
well, and see that's the thing because I've looked up the Castlevania arcade machines and they're just naked succubi dancing on screen.
Yeah. I played the Alien casino machine and the Monopoly casino machines. They're lots of fun.
Yeah, but they were respectful of their source material, weren't they?
I don't know if the Alien one really was.
And that's another problem I have with mainstream.
Hit the lever!
It's another problem with mainstream gaming that I have is using a name to sell a product. How Battlefront does that. Battlefront is not Battlefront. Battlefront is Battlefield. They just stuck the Star Wars label on it to sell. Devil May Cry didn't need the DMC Devil May Cry. Could have been a new franchise. You didn't have to completely erase the old one.
Sorry, I need to write this down quick. I had an idea, and it's a great name. So you guys get to listen to me type and get really close to the mic while he's trying to talk. Sorry, go ahead.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow didn't need to be called Castlevania. They could have just called it God of War. Ooh, burn!
They did the same thing with freaking Resident Evil, where they made Umbrella Corps, where they might as well have just called it Zombie Call of Duty, because you really didn't make a Resident Evil game.
No, that's another problem I have is using a name to sell a product. Because with a product name,
it's great though.
Well, sometimes it's great, yes, but using the name to sell the product, you should be using the product to sell the product. It's bad practice. I mean,
it's
sometimes
not intrinsically though, because I'm thinking of things like the Zelda Dynasty Warriors,
Hyrule Warriors,
Mario Kart.
Well, Hyrule Warriors specifically
Mario
changes.
Party. But they're taking a concept and taking another game and mashing them together. And like, it is definitely not a Zelda game.
And they're named different enough things. It's not a Legend of Zelda game. It's Hyrule Warriors.
Fair enough.
It's not Mario Land, whatever. It's Mario Party.
Super Mario Land kart racing.
They're changing the name enough to know you're getting a different product.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Sticking Castlevania onto not Castlevania is wrong.
Like, I'll give a call out to a good old PS1 game, Chocobo Racing. I've got it right there on the wall. It's one of my favorite games. It is very much a Final Fantasy racing game, but it's not like Final Fantasy VIII, the racing game. It's Chocobo Racing. They do that a little bit with the MMOs, but they're pretty similar to the actual games. But
nobody plays MMOs.
Final Fantasy XIV is still going strong. It's doing really well. I keep wanting to get into it. I can't afford another MMO, though. I've already got Warframe to eat all my time.
Yeah, on PC and PS4. I cannot believe
it. I barely play it on PS4 anymore. I think that's all we've got.
Probably. I personally can complain forever. But
I want to emphasize what's okay to do and what's not. Like, if you're going to make a free-to-play game, microtransactions are okay, loot boxes are not. Don't do pay-to-win.
and
Don't do it.
And I'm different. I don't feel the need to tell you what's okay to do. That you figure out what's okay to do. But this is what's not okay to do. Feel free to innovate and keep looking, but stop doing this.
It's easy to... So, one of my life rules I try to live by is it's easy to be a no man. It's harder to be a solution man. Or woman. Apologies. Anyone can say, no, that's a horrible idea. No, that's a horrible idea. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Well, what do I do to solve it? And honestly, it's easy to go back to your roots. Make a game for a price that it's worth. Because that's free market and that's how it works. If your game isn't worth the price you put on it, you made a bad game. Like, you need to make a game in a budget that will sell for the value so you can make a profit. If you can't do that, you shouldn't make that game. And once you've done that, you can then add DLC. Because microtransactions that are acceptable in my mind are DLC. Like a costume is some additional content you've added to the game for a price. It's no different than the initial price for the game. Like, you added extra stuff after the game. In fact, I'm okay with that. You can do cosmetic add-ons or game content add-ons for a price. But don't ever do pay-to-win. Don't add weapons to a multiplayer game that are better than the weapons already there. That's bad game design. Don't ever do loot boxes unless it's built into the game and not viable.
So,
I hate loot boxes.
Using your standard, what should I do that's better?
Then,
adding weapons to games for money.
If you're doing a multiplayer, they have to be balanced. Call of Duty's actually been really good about that. DLC weapons have always been well balanced with the game, and I've never had, except for Infinite Warfare, screw you, up to Black Ops 2, all of the DLC weapons there was no problem there. You just had more content, more weapons to use, more options, not better options.
Difference between DLC and pay to win, I suppose.
Exactly. Don't ever put a price on power level. Single player, multiplayer, anything. If your game has to have, like, if you want to do a system in your game that's pay to win, you need what is the game? I can't remember which game had a waifu mode, but it actually had something called waifu mode, which is literally like, look, I play my game with my hands tied behind my back, so just make it so I can smash my face on my keyboard and play the game through.
I don't even know.
But that's something I think games should have, because some people just don't have the physical capabilities to play through the game.
That's what I did with Uncharted. Difficulty minimum, and let's James Bond our way through this. Because some games...
I loved doing that in Mass Effect. It was so much more fun to just take all of the difficulty out of the game and just be this Rambo behemoth god that just walks through the content. I'm cool with that. Because some of us are really busy and we don't have time to have to handle everything super tactfully. And if we do, make it variable. That's actually one complaint I kind of have with Dark Souls. Although there's always been an easy mode in Dark Souls and you guys just didn't know it. It's called bows and it's called magic. You just easy mode your way through that game.
Well, and that's not the audience Dark Souls is going for. You mean,
but it's in there. Every game has an easy mode, or all good games, in my opinion. Maybe not all. Most good games have an option for easy mode, and I think Dark Souls actually handles it really well because you can be a little bitch and just run away with a bow and just shoot things until they die eventually. It was literally how I'd play through sometimes. On my first playthrough, I was a little camping bitch, I'd hide in doorways and shoot out into things that couldn't get through the doorway and stay outside of their out of their aggro zones. They'd run up to the edge and then just start walking away.
I would do that for one or two enemies, but I didn't have the patience, so eventually I just learned how to play.
I just needed an easy mode, and it worked great for me. Eventually I learned the game and it wasn't needed anymore, but I'd still do it because I like doing it. I like the way they did easy mode. But I have no problem with games having an easy mode. I think it's a good system.
I agree.
Because some people...
Some games you just want to know the story. You don't want to have to deal with the rest.
There's
of
a
the
lot
system.
of people who can't play Dark Souls because it's too hard. They physically cannot do it. It's just outside of their capabilities. And you've essentially gated a game behind physical skill. And that kind of sucks.
No, I don't have a problem with it because that's going for a specific audience. They are targeting that game at specific people. Because the story is so buried, you have to go look for it. That's the kind of person... That's what they're looking for. They aimed at an audience and went for it, and that's fine.
I don't begrudge them. I would have liked to see in an easier, like some sort of easy mode. I mean, maybe an easier mode because it's
you're gonna get
death
chewed
is
alive.
part of Dark Souls.
I wouldn't change Dark Souls.
I wouldn't either. Just trying to be productive. Okay, I think we've done this.
Just because you can suggest something doesn't mean it's good.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Any words of wisdom for the viewers after this 45-minute recording?
Nope.